One in five children in Kent County are currently living in poverty. Most people living in poverty are not simply living on government assistance. Most have some kind of employment and are either working part-time or at low-wage jobs. Did you know that for a single-parent family of three, mom or dad has to make more than $9.18 to no longer be within the federal poverty level? But what is the minimum wage in Michigan? $7.40 an hour. That's a little more than $15,000 a year. Families cannot live on that. Imagine trying to raise your children on only $15,000 a year. The minimum wage is a poverty wage and is not enough for families to be able to afford safe and healthy housing. Every parent wants the best for their child. Every parent wants their child to succeed. Sometimes, though, there are little things that just end up at the bottom of the priority list. When you're faced with having to put food on the table or buy a $40 carbon monoxide alarm, which do you think it is a family is going to choose? Think of the families and the children you know in your life. Maybe they're your neighbors, your friends' children. Maybe they're friends of your children, or maybe they attend your church. They look like every other family. You wouldn't know that their child has severe asthma and is hospitalized more than 3 times a year. You wouldn't know that maybe their baby was lead poisoned and may suffer permanent brain damage due to the housing conditions they live in. You wouldn't know just by looking at them that maybe they can't afford to fix their roof. Maybe they can't afford to address the lead hazards that are in their home. Or that they just need some help getting enough smoke alarms and a carbon monoxide alarm to protect their children. They look like every other family. After all, every parent wants their child to succeed. Every parent wants what is best for their children. But sometimes it takes the work of the community and their support to make that happen. Because every child deserves to be happy, and every child deserves to grow up in a safe and healthy home. But you wouldn't know from looking at them what lurks behind the walls of the home in which they live. They look like every other family. Happy, smiling, loving. Sometimes you just don't know. You wouldn't know from looking at the outside of this house that on the inside there is a severe roof leak. It has been there for about 3 or 4 years now, but the family living here cannot afford to fix it. You wouldn't know that they have a bathtub that is no longer functional, and they resort to a metal bucket. These are things that we just can't tell from looking at the outside. You wouldn't know that maybe a family can't afford some of the things we take for granted, like a bed frame for their mattress, or enough bedding for their children to sleep on. These are housing conditions that we see on a daily basis at healthy homes. These are the housing conditions that can affect children's health and that children need to be protected from. You wouldn't know from looking at the outside of this house that there is a severe hazard lurking on the inside. There is a gas leak that is so bad that on any given poker night that the husband had each week with his buddies, the basement could have blown up. You wouldn't have been able to tell just from looking at it, though. You wouldn't know from looking at this house that there was a family living there with a child who was lead poisoned due to the landlord's unsafe work practices. You wouldn't know that the housing conditions were so bad on the inside that the house had to be condemned because there were wooden floors that were pitched and trip hazards. There was mold growing in almost every single room in the upstairs. There was a roof leak, a bathtub that was about to sink in through to the first floor. These are things you cannot tell from looking at it from the street. These are the faces of healthy homes. They are no different than any of yours or friends and family that you may know. Every child deserves to grow up in a safe and healthy environment, free of health hazards. But sometimes the parents need a little extra support. Sometimes it takes a village to raise a child.